There is a sound that an entire generation was told to chase. The sound of your own front door. Your name on the mailbox. Your grass, your walls, your mortgage. And there is another sound. Quieter, less celebrated. The sound of flexibility. The sound of freedom. The sound of the difference between rent and a mortgage. Quietly being invested every single month. For generations, society told us one of these sounds meant success, and one meant failure. Today we're going to find out, after 30 years of real math, real life, and real consequences, which sound actually wins. He bought, she rented, 30 years later. Before we start, I need to tell you something. This video is not going to tell you that renting always wins. This video is not going to tell you that buying always wins. Because the honest answer, the one backed by actual math, is more complicated than either side of this debate wants to admit. What this video is going to do is follow two real financial profiles, 30 years. Every major decision, every hidden cost, every unexpected moment where life interrupted the plan. And at the end, we're going to look at two net worth statements side by side. No agenda, no real estate industry propaganda, no anti-homeownership bias. Just the math and the story behind the math. Because numbers without story are just noise. Let's go back to 1994. James, 30 years old. Works as a mid-level manager at a manufacturing company. Solid job, stable income. Annual salary, $52,000. Take home after taxes, approximately $3,400 a month. James grew up watching his father plant a garden in the backyard of the family home, watching his mother paint the living room walls whatever color she wanted. No landlord to ask, no lease to worry about. To James, owning a home isn't just a financial decision. It's the definition of having made it. He has saved $25,000 for a down payment. He is about to purchase a 3-bedroom house in a mid-size American city for $125,000. Monthly mortgage payment, $820 at a 7.5% interest rate. Standard for 1994. James signs the papers on a Tuesday morning. His hands are shaking slightly. He has never felt more like an adult in his entire life. Sarah, 30 years old, 1994. Works as a marketing coordinator at an advertising agency. Same income bracket as James. Annual salary, $48,000. Take home after taxes, approximately $3,200 a month. Sarah also grew up in a family home, also felt the pull of ownership. But Sarah did the math. She looked at the down payment, $25,000 more, and asked a question almost nobody was asking in 1994. What happens if I invest this instead? She looked at the monthly mortgage payment James was about to commit to, $820, versus her rent, $550, and asked another question. What if I invest the $270 difference every single month? Her friends thought she was being avoidant. Her mother worried she was making a mistake. Her father told her, point blank, that renting was throwing money away. Sarah signs a 1-year lease. Monthly rent, $550. She immediately opens a brokerage account and invests $25,000. James loves his house. Not in a complicated way, in a simple, profound, deeply human way. He plants tomatoes in the backyard, builds a deck on weekends. His daughter learns to ride a bike in the driveway. These things have value, real value, value that doesn't show up on a balance sheet. Year 1, the water heater fails, $800. Year 2, roof needs patching after a storm, $1,400. Year 3, furnace replacement, $2,200. Year 4, property taxes increase, now $2,100 a year. Year 5, homeowner's insurance premium rises, $1,400 a year. Year 6, the deck he built needs replacing, $3,500. In 6 years, beyond his mortgage payments, James has spent $14,200 on his house. That's $2,367 a year in costs his mortgage payment never mentioned. His monthly housing cost, when everything is factored in, isn't $820. It's closer to $1,018 a month. James doesn't calculate this. Most homeowners never do. The house feels like home. The costs feel like just part of life. Sarah's 1990s look different. She moves apartments twice in 6 years, once for a better location, once when her rent increased more than she was willing to pay. Her friends with houses tease her about this. No roots, no stability, just boxes again. But here's what they don't see. Sarah's initial $25,000 investment, placed in a simple S&P 500 index fund in 1994, has been growing. The 1990s stock market is one of the greatest bull runs in American history. By 2000, 6 years later, that $25,000 has become approximately $87,000. And she has been investing the $270 monthly difference between her rent and James's mortgage payment every single month for 6 years into the same index fund. That's an additional $19,440 contributed, now worth approximately $31,000 with growth. Sarah's apartment doesn't have a garden. She can't paint the walls without asking. She doesn't have a deck. But her net worth is quietly, invisibly, compounding into something significant. Let's pause at the end of the 1990s and look at where both of them stand. James. House current value approximately $155,000. Mortgage remaining $108,000. Home equity $47,000. Total hidden costs paid $14,200. Net housing wealth approximately $47,000. Sarah. Investment portfolio approximately $118,000. Rent paid, gone, no equity, $39,600. Net investment wealth approximately $118,000. 6 years in, Sarah is ahead, significantly. But James has something Sarah doesn't. And the next decade is about to prove why that matters. The 2000s are very, very good to James. The American housing market enters one of the most explosive appreciation periods in history. James's $125,000 house, purchased in 1994, is now worth $215,000 by 2005. His equity has grown from $47,000 to over $130,000. Neighbors are refinancing, taking out home equity loans, buying second properties. James refinances in 2003, pulls out $40,000 in equity, uses $15,000 to renovate the kitchen, uses $25,000 to pay off his car and some credit card debt. It feels like the house is paying him back. By 2009, James's house, once worth $215,000, is now worth $158,000. His mortgage balance after the refinance is still $98,000. Equity, $60,000, down from $130,000 just 4 years earlier. James hasn't lost the house, he's still paying, still living there. But $70,000 of his net worth evaporated in 18 months. The house that felt like his greatest financial achievement just became his greatest source of financial anxiety. The 2000s are not kind to Sarah's portfolio either. The dot-com crash of 2000 to 2002 erases significant gains. Sarah's portfolio, which had grown to $118,000, drops to approximately $71,000 at the bottom of the crash. This is the moment renting feels like the worst decision she ever made. No house, no equity, and a portfolio that just lost 40% of its value. Her mother calls, tells her she should have bought a house when she had the chance. But Sarah does something that separates wealth builders from everyone else. She doesn't sell. She keeps investing the monthly difference, every single month, through the crash, through the recovery. By 2006, the market has recovered and then some. Sarah's portfolio, approximately $198,000. The 2008 financial crisis hits Sarah's portfolio hard. By early 2009, her portfolio drops to approximately $124,000. But here is the critical difference between Sarah and James in 2009. James's loss is locked in his house. He cannot easily access it, cannot rebalance it, cannot move it. It just sits there, bleeding. Sarah's loss exists in liquid investments, painful but flexible. And the market, unlike the housing market in some cities, is already beginning to recover. The 2000s scorecard. Both financial positions, end of 2009. James. House value $158,000. Mortgage remaining $91,000. Equity $67,000. Total additional costs paid over a decade $19,000. Net housing position approximately $67,000. Sarah. Investment portfolio $124,000. Still renting, now $850 a month in 2009. Net investment wealth $124,000. Sarah is still ahead in pure numbers. But James has lived in his home for 15 years. His daughter grew up there. His identity is woven into those walls. And the next decade is going to change everything for both of them. The 2010s are redemption for James. The American housing market, particularly in mid-sized cities, enters a recovery that becomes the longest sustained appreciation in modern history. James's house, worth $158,000 in 2009, climbs steadily. 2012, $175,000. 2015, $210,000. 2018, $255,000. 2020, $290,000. By 2020, at 26 years after he bought it, James's house is worth $290,000. His mortgage, now in its final stretch, has a remaining balance of approximately $44,000. Equity, $246,000. But here's something the Zillow estimate doesn't show. Over 26 years, James has paid approximately $52,000 in property taxes, approximately $34,000 in homeowners insurance, approximately $41,000 in maintenance and repairs. The kitchen renovation, $15,000. A new roof in 2015, $12,000. New HVAC in 2018, $8,500. Total cost beyond the mortgage over 26 years, approximately $162,500. James's house has genuinely appreciated. His equity is real. But the true cost of building that equity is a number almost nobody calculates before they buy. The 2010s are extraordinary for Sarah, because the same recovery that lifted James's house lifted the stock market even higher. The S&P 500 returns approximately 13% annually through the 2000s, one of the greatest bull markets in history. Sarah's portfolio, now which stood at $124,000 in 2009, begins compounding at a rate that changes her financial life. 2012, $187,000. 2015, $276,000. 2018, $389,000. 2020, $431,000. $431,000. Built from a $25,000 initial investment and $270 monthly contributions. That is the power of 2 decades of uninterrupted compounding. Sarah has also paid rent for 26 years, starting at $550 in 1994, rising with the market to $1,650 by 2020. Total rent paid over 26 years, approximately $307,000. That number is real, and it stings. Sarah has no home to show for it, no walls with memories, no garden, no front door with her name on the mailbox. What she has is $431,000 in liquid, flexible working wealth. And the ability to move tomorrow if she wants to. The 2010s. Scorecard James. House value $290,000. Mortgage remaining $44,000. Equity $246,000. Total lifetime hidden costs $162,500. True net housing wealth after all costs approximately $83,500. Sarah. Investment portfolio $431,000. Total lifetime rent paid $307,000. Net investment wealth $431,000. Sarah is ahead by $347,000 in pure liquid net worth. But James has something coming in the next 4 years. That is about to close that gap dramatically. James, 2020 to 2024. James watching the news. Pandemic. Housing market going insane. Nobody predicted what happened to American housing between 2020 and 2024. Interest rates drop to historic lows. Remote work explodes demand. Housing inventory collapses. Prices go vertical. James's house in his mid-size American city, already at $290,000 in 2020. 2021, $355,000. 2022, $398,000. 2023, $421,000. 2024, $441,000. James, about 60 years old now, sitting on his back porch. The garden's still going. His house is worth $441,000. His mortgage, 30 years, is fully paid off in 2024. His equity, $441,000, free and clear. James owns his home completely. Nobody can raise his housing payment. Nobody can evict him. The roof over his head costs him only taxes, insurance, and maintenance. And something happens when James pays off that mortgage that no spreadsheet can capture. A feeling of permanence, of having built something that cannot be taken. His monthly housing cost, once $820, is now approximately $650 in taxes and insurance. He has more monthly cash flow than he has had in 30 years. House value, $441,000. Mortgage, $0. Total equity, $441,000. Total paid into house over 30 years, including all costs, approximately $412,000. Net gain, approximately $29,000 plus 30 years of housing. Wait, let me say that again. James paid approximately $412,000 total into his house over 30 years. Mortgage payments, interest, taxes, insurance, maintenance, repairs, renovations. His house is now worth $441,000. His actual financial gain from the house as an investment, stripping away the housing value, is approximately $29,000 over 30 years. But he also lived there for 30 years, which means he received 30 years of housing for what amounts to a relatively modest premium over renting. The house was not a spectacular investment, but it was a forced savings vehicle that provided a home and ultimately paid for itself. Sarah, 2020 to 2024. Sarah now 60 years old. The pandemic years treat Sarah's portfolio with the same volatility as everyone else. The 2020 crash hits hard. Her portfolio drops temporarily to $341,000. She does not sell. The recovery and the subsequent bull market pushes her portfolio to new heights. 2021, $512,000. 2022 drops to $421,000 during the correction. 2023, $487,000. 2024, $524,000. $524,000. But Sarah's rent in 2024, in the same city where James owns his home, is $2,100 a month. And here is the anxiety that has quietly followed Sarah for 30 years and arrived loudest in 2024. She is 60. She has no housing security, no paid-off roof over her head. Her landlord can raise her rent, can sell the building, can choose not to renew her lease. Her $524,000 portfolio can cover housing, but drawing it down for rent means slowing its growth, means watching the number she spent 30 years building begin to shrink. This is the cost of renting that no spreadsheet captures. Not the money, the uncertainty. The 30-year verdict, final financial positions. James at 60. House value, $441,000, fully owned. Monthly housing cost going forward, approximately $650 taxes and insurance. Total invested in house over 30 years, approximately $412,000. Retirement savings, separate 401k, $187,000. Total net worth, approximately $628,000. Monthly housing security complete. Sarah at 60. Investment portfolio $524,000. Additional retirement accounts $203,000. Total net worth approximately $727,000. Monthly housing cost going forward $2,100 and rising. Monthly housing security none. Sarah has a higher net worth by approximately $99,000. After 30 years, after the greatest bull market in history, after perfect index fund discipline, after never missing a monthly investment contribution, her lead, after all of that, is $99,000. But James has no monthly rent payment, no landlord, no lease renewal anxiety. His housing cost just dropped by $170 a month, forever. And his house, in the city where they both live, is throwing off something Sarah's portfolio cannot replicate: certainty. So who won? Here's the honest answer that neither side of this debate wants to hear. In pure mathematical net worth, Sarah wins, but barely, and only because the stock market performed exceptionally over this specific 30-year period. In a different 30-year window, with different market returns, James wins. In emotional security and housing stability, James wins, decisively, permanently. In flexibility and liquidity throughout those 30 years, Sarah wins, every single year. In total money spent on housing, they are remarkably close. James paid into a house. Sarah paid into rent and kept investing. The total outflows are not as different as either side assumes. But here is what this 30-year experiment actually reveals. The question was never really rent versus buy. The question was always, what do you do with the difference? James's forced savings, trapped in a mortgage, built equity slowly and gave him a paid-off home. Sarah's voluntary savings, requiring iron discipline for 30 years, built a larger portfolio but left her without housing security at 60. Most people, if they rent, do not invest the difference. They spend it. Which means for most people, the forced savings of a mortgage beats the theoretical discipline of investing the difference. But for the disciplined few, the math is closer than the real estate industry will ever admit. So what does all of this mean if you are sitting there right now, 25, 30, 35, trying to decide? Here is what 30 years of honest math actually tells you. If you are going to buy, know the true cost, not just the mortgage. Every dollar, taxes, insurance, maintenance, repairs, needs to be in your calculation before you sign. Buy a house you can afford to own, not just afford to purchase. Do not treat your home equity as a piggy bank. The refinance trap is real and it delays the finish line by years. Understand that the appreciation is real, but it is not guaranteed. Location matters more than any other variable. If you are going to rent, you must invest the difference. This is non-negotiable. Renting and spending the difference is the worst financial outcome of all. Build a plan for housing security at retirement, whether that means eventually buying or building a portfolio large enough to cover rent indefinitely. You need a plan. Do not let social pressure make you buy before you are financially and personally ready. The emotional cost of buying the wrong house at the wrong time is devastating. The one thing both paths require: intention. James's path worked because he stayed, maintained, paid off the mortgage. Sarah's path worked because she invested, every month without fail for 30 years. Neither path works on autopilot. Neither path works without discipline. And neither path, despite what everyone around you will tell you, is obviously correct for everyone. 30 years, same city, same starting income. Two completely different lives, built on one decision made at age 30. Neither of them made the wrong choice. They made different choices with intention and lived with the consequences fully. The real mistake, the one that costs people everything, is making either choice without understanding what it actually means. Now you understand what it means. The question is, what are you going to do with that? If this video changed how you see the biggest financial decision of your life, share it right now. With someone about to buy. With someone afraid to buy. with anyone who has ever been told that renting is throwing money away. Subscribe, because next week we go somewhere else. Most finance channels are too afraid to go. I will see you there.